Hello, welcome to a video about my journey with endometriosis. This is something I wanted to create. It's a little bit different from what I usually create. So if you've clicked on this video because you have endometriosis, or you've clicked on this video because someone you know does, or you're just interested to hear my perspective of healing from a severe chronic pain condition, welcome! The reasons I'm making this is one, I remember having endometriosis basically from when I was 12, but really going online to try to find stories of people who had healed from it, and there was like nothing. So I really want to offer an alternative perspective to the narrative that endometriosis is incurable, that you're going to live with this forever, because one of the hardest things to grapple with a chronic pain condition is that it's going to be forever. So my intention making this is to show you, ta-da! They said I could never have kids. They said I'd have it forever. They said I'd be on painkillers forever, and I'm not. I just had my second kid 3 months ago. A natural home birth, super, not easy, but no complications, and I have been living pain-free for 5 years. The second reason I want to make this is for the little version in me, I'm gonna get emotional, that literally had to live with such a terrible, like life-altering pain for such a long time. If you have endometriosis, or if you're on your spiritual path or on kind of any journey, recognizing the parts of you that really suffered and bringing them home and caring for them from your fully healed state is really important in the integration of such a life-altering thing. So I'm going to break it down into my story, what I did to heal from it, and my key takeaways, like how my perspective on my body, on life, on everything fully changed throughout this journey. Take what you like, leave what you don't. Maybe you're new to energy or holistic healing. Just, this is my experience. I'm not a doctor. I'm not telling you to do anything, just what I did. So, let's begin. I basically started my period at age 12. I remember looking down being like, oh my God, I'm bleeding. And if you don't know, my mom passed away when I was 8, so I didn't really have anyone to tell. And my crazy auntie was like, yeah, you're gonna have this until you're like 45, 50. And my brain registered that as, you are going to bleed consistently now every single day until you're 45. And no one corrected that. So from the get-go, I was immediately like, oh my God, holy shit. I'm just gonna bleed all the time. Wasn't the case, but my very earliest memories of having my period was pain immediately. I think I was 12 or 13, and I remember staying home from school being like, oh, I don't feel so good. And my parents, my dad and my stepmom were like, you don't look so good. And I remember on the way to the bathroom just blacking out from so much pain, didn't even make it to the bathroom. I threw up, I blacked out, and I just laid there for ages. So my first instance of taking really strong painkillers was 12 or 13 years old. And I had no clue what was wrong. So throughout high school, I would often just have this intense pain. I felt sick when I ate, every time I ate. So we went to the doctor and they were like, you have IBS. And I was like, okay. So I cut out dairy and I cut out all these foods, and then the pain was still there. And it kind of followed me. It wasn't super extreme. The pain was only at period time. So if you don't know what endometriosis is, basically endometrial cells grow in the lining of your uterus or all throughout your body, and you can be several different stages of it, but a lot of people aren't diagnosed for a really long time. So for me, at this point till about 18 years old, it was just having days off, not doing sport, feeling really isolated, but thinking that this was just normal, being like, well, another time of me blacking out, and then I moved out of home when I was 18, and that's when it kind of started to really pick up in intensity. I moved to Canada when I was 19, and I remember being at work and hiding in the closet because I was so anxious to ask anyone for help. And I remember like sitting in the closet being like, how am I going to get to the pharmacy without letting anyone know that I can't walk or I'm like in so much pain? And I remember just like throwing up in the it's funny, but it's not funny. Like if you've ever been in so much pain that you throw up, it's ridiculous. So I remember throwing up, being like, how do I hide the fact that I've just thrown up in here? And just like cuddling myself and like being in fetal position. And then I eventually had to tell my boss, and she was the most understanding one. As we go through the story, I learned a really big lesson that when you work for someone, they just want you to work. They don't want to help you as a human. So that was really hard working in hospitality industries where men and women didn't like make space for that. That's a really big reason why at 24, I'll tell the story, I was working at a cafe and I felt the pain come on and I was like, oh shit, I'm going down. So it's the way I would describe the pain. I used to say it's like the Hulk put gloves of steel on and into a furnace and left it there for like 10-15 minutes and then got them so hot and then shoved them in my body and started making like dough out of my organs, like searing, burning, scrunching pain all throughout the lower abdomen, my uterus, my hips, just everything on fire so you cannot walk. So I remember handing this lady a coffee. It was like 4:00 and we were about to close, and I just like went down, and the last thing I remember is handing her the coffee. And because it was only me working there, I woke up at like 6:30 and it was pitch black and everyone had gone home, and she like fully just left me. She obviously saw me black out. I'm just like laying there fully unconscious, and I came to and it was like dark, and then I called my boss being like, oh my god, I don't feel good, I just fully blacked out. And it was a Friday, and he was like, but did you get the till to the bank in time? And I was like, fuck you. I remember I quit and was like, this is obviously not going to work. And that's the last time I ever worked for anyone, was when I was 24. And I was like, fuck that. So that's one takeaway, is like, you really learn to like create your own path in life when people don't accommodate your pain. I remember working at yoga studios and being fired from doing sound healings because I can't let them know the day before that I was in debilitating pain, and then just receiving like terrible messages being like, how dare you let down the community, da 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 da. And it's like, I think they're gonna be fine. I think I'm gonna be alone in my bathroom for the next 3 days, just like not able to move. Anyway, we're gonna be jumping around ADHD style. So then I moved to Canada, and the pain kind of grew and grew and grew. And at the same time, this is when I was also just like really depressed. I didn't know who I was. I was at uni for about a year and I was so depressed. Didn't know who I was, what I was doing, traumatic childhood, no support, kind of got kicked out of home. My stepmom sat me down and was like, you're coming between the marriage of me and my husband. And I was like, that's my only living family member, really. That's my dad, okay? I guess I will leave. So a really big part of endometriosis was also carrying the trauma of just my life's experiences, which definitely added to the pain. Definitely. So in Canada, I met my first boyfriend, Adam, and he was so sweet, like what an angel. And I traveled around, and I kind of came to the place where I still didn't know that it was endometriosis. I think I had seen, up until 19, 10 different doctors. One time I was at work and I, once again, blacked out, came to, got an Uber or a taxi, I don't think Uber existed, drove me to the hospital, and there were 2 hospitals side by side. One was the public and one was the private, and I was like, get me to the hospital. And they dropped me at the private one. So I went to the private one. They wheeled me in my little wheelchair, and they did all these tests like MRI, an enema, blood tests, like there were 3 or 4 different machines. I can't really remember because I was so out of it. Which is another thing they don't talk about. You lose your life when you're on painkillers. I'll come to the addiction in a minute, the opiates and the toxicity of all that. And then I did all these scans. I stayed there overnight. I stayed there for ages, completely alone. Like, don't have any brothers or sisters. Didn't have any friends because I had already moved back from overseas travel. I kind of moved back and forth for like 5 years. So I was just there alone being like, am I actually dying? Like, is this it for me? And then at the end, the nurse was like, oh, you're just constipated. You just need to just drink some more water and take this. You're just constipated. And then I checked out and I had a bill of 5,000 Australian dollars, which if you're listening in America, you'd probably be charged like 80K for what I went through. But still, I had no money. I think I was like 19. And I was like, what do you mean? She's like, this is the private hospital. And I was like, so I don't know how I got that money. I would have had to call someone. I would have had to beg my dad to be like, I need this money. Which is crazy that a 19-year-old is having the like pressure of financially supporting yourself, paying rent, and also going to school at that time, and also paying for medical bills, and also being in so much pain that you cannot go to work. So it's like this crazy system of like, you are really sick, but no one's going to help you, and no one knows what's wrong with you, and here's bills, and you need to go to work, and you need to be at school, and you're depressed. Like, it's just a terrible, and you're alone. Like, it's just a terrible system. So I remember from there just having to work to pay off a medical bill that told me I was constipated. It's just insane. So from there, I kind of just kept trudging on, like trying to exist. And then the time that I kind of was really bad, I went into hospital for a little while. I was in the bathtub and I just remember screaming to my roommate being like, I need you to get me to the hospital right fucking now. Like, so much excruciating pain like in my body. So I got to the hospital and it was like a teaching hospital. So I checked in, they gave me morphine. No, they gave me endone. And then the doctor who was there checked out. A new nurse came in an hour later. He didn't write it on my file. So they were like, and this person is presenting with extreme pain and da-da-da-da-da. And then they gave me morphine. And then they went on their way. And then another doctor came and was like, oh, you're in extreme pain. And I was kind of like so high off my face. And I was like, oh. And I remember being like, can I have some food? Like, they didn't check if I had food in my belly. They didn't check really anything. It was the poorest treatment. And then they gave me endone. So I had morphine, tramadol, and endone, tramadol, and morphine. So I was high as a motherfucker off my titties. Like, my eyeballs were like this big, right? And then they let me go. So I was sitting in my car. I think my friend had to go and they left their car. So I was sitting in my car, high as shit, couldn't drive anywhere, wasn't in pain, and no one thought to like follow up with me. No one thought. They just literally were like, we're really busy, gotta go. So I just remember being like, whoa, the system that is meant to help you when you are sick did not give a shit about me. And now I'm really high. They didn't offer me, I think I even said, can I have some food? And they gave me like a cracker. And then I sat in my car just being like, I gotta get home. So I just sat there until I was like sober enough to drive, and I don't even remember. So thus begun the painkiller addiction phase of my life. So when you are in so much pain that you just like don't know when the pain's coming, don't know how long it's gonna last, your mind kicks in and it's like, don't go to that party, don't get on that bus, don't go to that place, because what if you're in debilitating pain and no one's going to come and save you? which was a huge wound for me in my life. The no one's going to come and help you wound. And you might have this too, of like, no matter how bad it gets, like no one's going to come and help you, is really scary. Like, I think at this time my dad had moved to Saudi Arabia with his family, so there was no one in Australia at that time for me, like a few people, and that was way too much of a burden for someone to look after me. So here's just me like, okay. And then I just got really hooked on taking endone every day, and it fucks you up. It makes you hallucinate. Your dreams are crazy. Your stomach lining is shredded because of the chemical imbalance, and my pain got worse. So any of the pharmaceuticals that they put me on, I was on Valium for my anxiety, I was on Xanax for my anxiety. I fully developed a drug addiction to these painkillers, as well as smoking weed. So once I realized the painkillers, God, over like a 6-year period, I've had so many different addictions to substances. And I like just checking in, I can't believe I'm free of it. Like, I can't believe I solo got myself out of there. Like, no one told me that I was addicted. No one told me how to come off it. And what they don't tell you, when you take opiates for a really long time, it takes 3 months minimum for your neurochemistry to rewire itself. So when I decided to come off it, I came off it cold turkey. So at this point, I'd had pain for a really long time, taking Panadeine 4 all the way up to Tramadol, Endone, at varying stages of my life. And that's right, jumping around, I moved to Byron when I came home with my next boyfriend, Jack, who helped me, and his mum was a nurse, and she was like, I think you might have endometriosis. And then I was like, what's endometriosis? So this is the first time after 10 years of pain to be like, oh, okay. So I was like, how do you tell? Surgery. So I had to go into surgery with a laparoscopy just to even find out if I had it. It was expensive. The wait list was so long. Oh my God. The wait list was so long. And I remember for the public, so I was like, I'm going to have to pay, because your will to live, and I'm not even joking, your will to live when you are in that much pain all the time, and you hear the term incurable, and you, even if you get this name for it, is really low at some point. So I already suffered from depression. I already suffered from anxiety. I also had an eating disorder at that time. So I already hated my body, and my perspective of my body was Newtonian, mechanistic. I have body and they have separate parts, and these parts are shit and there's no reason for it, and they hate you. Like, this is what you feel of your body when you're going through this insurmountable amount of pain. So then I had surgery, and all the while, the first checkup that I had, this is just to let you know about the system and what it is to be a woman sometimes. I came out of my first initial consult where he did a vaginal exam, and I remember saying to my boyfriend, I think that I was just sexually assaulted. Like, I think that he just like turns out that doctor is no longer practicing because he was sexually assaulting women. And for me, it was just like staying in there a bit too long, and I just felt like a bit odd, like really off by it, but like didn't have to see him again. But he no longer practices because he was sexually assaulting women, which is crazy. So it's like, not only are you in a male-dominated industry at that time, no shade to men, but this is just what happened, and you're in your most vulnerable, scared, lonely, confused time, you're also being assaulted and unsafe. So everywhere I looked for a really long time was just, I am unsafe, I am unsafe, I am unsafe, I am unsafe. God, it was so hard. And you might feel this too with endometriosis, right? So then I had the surgery, and then they like, yep, you have it. So then they burn off. They literally burn off these cysts that grow on your organs in your body, which is such a crazy... If you think about a being that is in pain, or something that is in pain from a holistic perspective, to find the root of your pain and then burn it is so harsh. So no one really warns you that when you have surgery, if you're sensitive at all, which I have been my whole life, I just didn't realize I was sensitive. When you have your inner womb space implemented on, no one tells you that you feel really violated, and you can, maybe not everyone, but I felt really, really, really ripped away from myself. Like my inner parts had been burnt, and just I felt disconnected, and I felt really sad. Like it was a really sad time to be operated on internally. And I remember working at a cafe, and I had to go back to work because I needed to pay, and they asked me to pick up this box, and then I ripped my stitches. So then I started bleeding internally. So it got even worse. My healing didn't heal, and I was just like, at the same time I had to get a tooth removed. I wasn't eating. Like it was just the worst combination. So then that's kind of my journey in a nutshell. So many other stories of just craziness. But from there, I was like, that's it. I don't want to live like this anymore. And I started to kind of turn a corner. I came off the painkillers. I came off the pill. For me, they said the pill will help regulate you. The pill that I was taking had like a huge percentage of women being suicidal on the pill. So that's a fun side effect of being on painkillers. So I was once I read that, I had full body shivers. So up until this point, I really wasn't meditating. I wasn't communing with angels. I kind of probably was an atheist, to be honest. Not an atheist, didn't believe in God, but had no real experiences of energy or spirit or anything on the other side helping. It was like, I'm a human on the ground and I'm doing human things alone, right? So then my partner took me in, this was Adam, and I moved to Sydney with his family, and I started something called the Gerson therapy. So this is the first time that I was like, modern medicine doesn't care about me and isn't helping me and is making me sick and makes me want to kill myself. Really, truly terrible feelings. So not only did I stop cold turkey and start this really intense detox, I only learned in hindsight that it takes 3 months for your neurochemistry to rewire. So you're going through pain, but physically, but you're also going through this psychological challenge of recognizing hallucinating or objects, your space awareness, coming off it is just a surreal dark trip, really not fun. And so I started the Gerson therapy. And what this is kind of like a cancer treatment therapy, really alternative. What I had to do, nothing could come from chemicals, nothing could come from plastics. I couldn't wear any makeup or perfume. All of my bed sheets had to be washed in this supernatural fiber. The diet was so insane. It helped a lot, but it was really insane for a 20-year-old to be going through, or however old I was. You juice organic fruit and vegetables. There are 3 different juices. I can't really remember, but you have to juice every hour. So you cold press the juice with this $3,000 juicer. It was crazy. You juice every hour. By the time you finish cleaning the juicer, it's already time to make the next juice again. It was insane. You drink this Hippocrates soup, this cabbage soup. You can only have 1 black coffee and eat this oatmeal. There's this whole regimen. And then you do 4 coffee enemas a day. So I did that for 3 months, I'm pretty sure, 2 or 3 months. And let me tell you, in that time, I started to really recognize how much toxicity of chemical imbalance had built up in my body. Oh, I was also a smoker. I smoked to cope with the anxiety, right? So coming off this huge amount of chemicals and recognizing how the acidity and the pH and the body is just trying to detox from the crap that you're putting into it. It was just such an intense detox period. And in this time, because I didn't work, I literally just couldn't work anymore. I was just like a shell of a human. wasn't really working, wasn't really doing anything else. Thank you to all my partners that ever looked after me. And slowly started to detox, and I recognized how chemicals were affecting me. And in this time, this is when I really first started to explore just natural holistic healing, and I started to recognize the power, and I just got really hungry to learn about like the power of food. Let food be thy medicine, to detoxify and flush out your body. So that made a really, really big impact on my physical health, on my hormones, on my just understanding how the body needs to be in certain type of environments for you to actually detox and heal, because endometriosis is huge inflammation. So dairy can inflame you, gluten can inflame you, all of these, when you're already not well, toxins can inflame you. So in that time I came off all the medication that they had put me on, which is really hard to do, just fucking cold turkey. Came off smoking, quit cold turkey, terribly hard to do, and came off gluten, dairy, sugar, all these foods. So in that period, I call that the living hell of healing part. I hope I'm not scaring anyone, I'm just telling my story. And started to notice differences in my flow, differences in my pain, and I just generally felt a lot better. So I felt like my physical body was on my side. But guess what still sticks around? Recognizing that you are a body. You have a body. You're not a body. You have a body. You have emotions. You have life experiences. You have mental health. And you have like a spiritual soul. So this is when I started to recognize, okay, I've healed from the physical body stuff. I'm ready to go. I went back out into the world again, traveling, living my best life. And then bada bing, bada boom, the pain came back really strong, really bad. So what I then committed my life to was figuring out holistic healing. So I kind of moved and branched out of, I kind of addressed the physical stuff, I addressed the chemicals, and then I was called in my soul. Well, actually, no, it wasn't even spiritual at all. I rented my whole house out on Airbnb for a month because I just put it up. I was such an ungrounded person. I just put it up and someone booked it for a month. And I was like, crap, where am I going to live for a month? So I went to Bali and I just did a yoga teacher training for fun. Now I'm recognizing from my perspective, spirit was like guiding this lunatic the whole time. And in the yoga teacher training is when I really first connected emotions being stored and housed within the body. And I didn't learn it from like reading a book. I learned it from like living it out. So I think at this time I took up smoking again, naughty girl, but it helped and grounded me. And as I was moving through the yoga poses, like everyone was like a diehard yoga person, and everyone like went around the room being like, and I want to do it for this. And I was like, I rented my house out and now I'm here. And I remember doing really deep stretches and all of a sudden just like crying, just like bursting into tears, and then feeling really ashamed and guilty. And like at this point I hadn't been in any kind of like circle where women or people were like kind to each other or lifted each other up or supported each other. All of my healing thus far has been alone in a room or being in a medical institution where I'm just treated very poorly. No one's been on my side throughout all of it. So it was really like scary to start trusting people and to open up. And as I was there for a month, I had some really profound experiences when now I recognize it was my psychic abilities kind of opening up. Because I remember one time I was doing some deep meditation and going in, going backwards, and I went to the core of my uterus. Like I got shown and traveled down, and there was this like black dark spot around it. Oh, trigger warning throughout all of this. I probably should put that in the beginning. I'll put it on the text. I went into this black pain, and I went into the core of the pain. And then I was so deep in meditation, I screamed. I just like screamed as loud as I could, like so deep. And then I kind of like blacked out. And then like I kind of cried, and then I just like blacked out, and they had to like carry my body into the room, and I was so embarrassed. But I was more so just scared. And what I saw in there was trauma. Like what I recognized, backstory, my mum's lineage, there's a lot of sexual abuse and emotional abuse and alcoholism and just like really dark, heavy things. And I watched this reel of her life play out. And I was like, did that happen to me or did that happen to her? And you just piece things together. I realized my body was housing the unprocessed emotional trauma of my mother's lineage. So I find it really interesting that endometriosis is passed down as well. This is why we kind of get into emotional, vibrational perspective of healing. So then I was like, oh crap. And I started to journal. And there was a lady there that did Reiki. And she's like, let me do some Reiki on you. I was like, what the heck's Reiki? And she kind of like flooded energy through my body. And it kind of helped. But she was like good, but I don't think she was like a psychic surgeon level of good, right? So from there, I kind of went on a pretty intense Google like fix on understanding the emotional body, understanding energy, understanding a vibrational medicine perspective of healing, which kind of helped. I will say after that big release, that big emotional release, the pain subsided a little bit. But boy, guess what? When you're ready to look at something that you didn't want to look at or explore a deeper level of your consciousness, spirit ain't playing around. You get shown things. So there is like a beauty behind it, which is you're always being led either through a video or an experience or a dream or something to the core of well-being. You're never just stranded there, even though it feels like it. There are little gingerbread drops along the way, along your path, and you kind of just have to be brave enough to eat them. And I wouldn't say I'm necessarily brave, but I would say that I'm like naively optimistic, meaning like, and also a side effect of ADHD is like needing dopamine. So I was like a little dopamine junkie, being like, let's travel, let's not look at my stuff, let's have fun, let's go here, let's be naughty, let's do all these things, right? So I was just like always perpetually moving. And now I look at it, it's like I was running from feeling things, running from stopping, because my subconscious knew if you stop, well girl, you got it in for you. And I did. I really had it in for me. So then from there, I came home and I started studying Reiki. I remember I was at a restaurant and there were these symbols etched into the table. And I was like, couldn't stop staring at them. And so I finally looked it up and it was a Reiki symbol. And the next day I went to buy a crystal and there was like a learn Reiki thing there. And I was like, okay. And then my teacher, Shavanya, the best, was like, let's practice. And then I just was like, whatever. I did the symbols and I kind of just thought it was silly. Really, I just thought it was silliness. And I was just like, okay. And then she was like, whoa. She's like, that's the strongest energy I've ever felt anyone channel. I was like, ooh, like I'm just doing me. And then this is where it gets into like dimensions. She was channeling this Indian woman, and then this Indian lady came through, and she's like, there's all these spirits here being like, we are so happy you're finally waking up and actually following the path. And I was like, oh, thanks, like nice Indian spirit lady. Because a part of me was like, I don't know about all this. Like I really was a skeptic for a while. But what kind of really propelled me was getting back into playing music. So I was still having pain, and then because I didn't have work, couldn't keep down a job, I just like played music every day. And that was really a way that I was able to express my emotions, because talk therapy took so long to find a therapist. And when you've had a lot of trauma as a kid, you kind of develop this discernment and this awareness. And I'd go for these initial appointments and be like, oh no, not I know more than you, but you can't reach me here. Like, you haven't been to the depths of darkness. And that's not a judgment, but it was just like, I knew instinctively in my body that they couldn't hold the container for me. So I was like, back to the drawing board. And then I found this like kind of like school for sound therapy, because I loved music. I loved making music. Anytime I would make and express and emote, all this like emotion started like coming out of my body. And I was watching these like black clouds of darkness kind of come out of my body. And every time I did, I felt so much lighter and I felt so much better. So I moved to America and studied sound therapy, and that's where I kind of found vibroacoustic therapy. So it's a bed you lay on and it pulses sound frequencies, low frequency vibrations into your body, and it essentially feeds energy to the cells. It moves through the lymphatic system and it helps you access deep kind of subconscious trauma and energetic patterns and brings it to the surface. And if you cry, if you scream, if you emotionally release it, it no longer needs to be housed in the body. So that's when I really went down the rabbit hole. I was like, let's go. So I studied sound therapy. I understood the kind of the science of it. And then I was having these like surreal experiences in these deep meditation periods of, one, I saw my mum. She just like walked into the room and I was like, okay, I guess there's the other side then. Like, spirit was just getting so much louder and louder, being like, everything seems like it's solid, but it's not. And there's dimensions and there's hope. So I was starting to like really getting into that. So after I studied that, I started just working on other people. I worked on myself, and I literally came home and I asked my dad to build a sound table for me, and I would lay on it for like 8 hours a day. And I was having crazy experiences of crying, my body shaking, all the trauma patterns of loneliness, abandonment, isolation, rejection, fear, abuse, ancestral line. I started mapping out this blueprint of all these densities that were housed in my energetic makeup. And this might sound, if you're joining me, I'm realizing if you haven't explored this might be like, Katie, you've lost me. And that's fine. Stay and listen or move on. But for me, this was the core shift from the body is separate to, oh my goodness, we are multidimensional energy beings. We have an energetic template. We have emotions that wrap around our organs that stagnate, and when certain vibratory patterns are housed long enough, they crystallize and they become densities in the body. So I'm not saying that endometriosis is this. This is my perspective, that my pain had crystallized from being active for such a long time, as well as in the ancestral, in our genetics, in our DNA, we carry these templates and blueprints that show up. Like, why are people so similar to their mom? Things are passed down, right? When they're not healed, released, understood, accepted, and moved on out. So I went on just like a really, like 24 to now I'm 34, so 10 years of just meditating, looking at my stuff, learning how to move it out of the body, learning to love it, and kind of really, really shifting my perspective of how the body is just an expression of my spirit. The spirit is an expression of my soul. My soul has come to earth to use these certain templates, one, to wake me up to the multidimensional nature, which is the real reality. We aren't just bodies that go into the earth and then die. Two, I deserved to be seen. And I still haven't really been seen. I guess it's the first time I'm really telling my whole story, for what you've been carrying. and that you can end these cycles. I actually remember, it was a hard time. I remember when I first started recognizing and pinpointing this, I started my first energy healing business because I said I didn't ever work for someone again. Turns out I was kind of good at it. And I wrote on the endometriosis community being like, oh my God, I'm finally starting to go for months without pain. I'm starting to understand how energy is stored in the body. I'm starting to understand this. And I have never been come for so hard in my life. This one lady was like, what a bullshit artist. And then she tagged like 10 women. And then all these women came for me online. And I remember being like younger, and like now I don't care if someone's going to come for me, that's them. But I never had female support in my life. So to share vulnerably, and if people attack me online for my discoveries, I just shut up. I like didn't talk about endometriosis. I kind of just healed silently and then just moved on with my life. I was like, right, this community hates me. I'm not welcome here. Because now I realize I was challenging them, and I challenge anyone to kind of look a little bit deeper into it. And this isn't the easy way. This isn't the easy solution. Looking at all your stuff that's in that deep, dark, black box, meditating, caring for yourself, caring for your body, recognizing and changing your fundamental perspective of reality is the hardest thing that you can do. And people don't necessarily want to do that because of their conditioning, for a whole bunch of reasons. So I'm actually, right now as I speak, recognizing that maybe not having a family and not having brothers and not having friends around me was like weirdly a gift, because I didn't have to rub up in friction against people judging me for going so hard one way into this other perspective. I didn't have a really challenging time with that. So I could see how if you were to have a kind of spiritual awakening from your chronic pain condition, how people might not like you stepping out of the mainstream. But it's the best thing I ever did. And then from there, I started working on people with endometriosis. I started running energy. I started working with my sound bed. I started, we make tuning forks now. I started understanding that certain frequencies and vibrations can be applied to the body to access and to not only for the deep emotional stuff, but for the physical things. Different sounds have anti-inflammation properties. Once you move the lymphatic system, the body is able to detoxify itself better. Once you shift your brain waves and you go into that lower brainwave state, that theta state, your nervous system regulates. When your nervous system regulates, the function of your self-healing body can get to work on actually addressing the root of the imbalances, rather than the 10 symptoms that come with endometriosis: anxiety, depression, loneliness, everything that I've just explained. And then I started seeing results. So I would work on women. I created this course for women who were not able to conceive, not always because of endo, but a lot because of endo. And this is when I kind of got really good at reading energy. I recognized, wow, I can look inside someone's body and I can pinpoint where I find a density or an imbalance. And I could kind of energetically see inside the body, which we can all do once you learn, where these growths are. And then I started to read the imprint of the energy. It was always like disconnection, loss. There was always a spiritual or energetic meaning behind the obvious physical manifestation of the imbalance, the bacteria, the toxicity, the inflammation, right? It's both. It's and, not or. And I started releasing the energy charge behind it, the emotions, and they would go through a deep grieving, loss process of addressing what was inside for them in this life and ancestrally. And then they would come back and I remember one lady coming back and I didn't see her for ages, and she's like, Katie. I was like, hi. She's like, it's me. And she had a 1-year-old on her hip. She's like, oh my God, I never even told you I got pregnant after that session, right? Or this one girl came, and there were just all of these experiences where, not because of me, just because of the energy pathways being mobilized and this density now letting the body heal itself, people healing, right? So I think it's been about 4 years since I've had any pain, and yeah, that's my story. So I guess a takeaway from this is, one, endometriosis led me on a 12-year wild goose chase to go to the depths of my pain, to come out the other side, to shift my perspective from the body as like separate and hating my body and being angry, into caring for myself, into viewing everything as vibrational. Every cell is vibrating at a certain frequency, and we can shift these frequencies. We can feed the body positive energy. We can clear our ancestral lineage and templates. And now I do this work, helping people like read their own energy and understand that you are a soul, that you have come here for a journey and a mission. And I really believe that people who have the hardest challenges have the biggest message to share, because when you come out the other side, no one can take away from you just what you've learned. It's like in my body now, what I've overcome. And then it's time to get to work to help other people. So no matter what part of the journey you're on, maybe you're in the hiding in the closet, throwing up, not wanting people to know, I just want you to know that you don't have to like believe in all of this, but believe me, you can heal and you will get better. And it might not be through the easiest way, but the benefits and the rewards are like insurmountable. I'm so happy. I love my life. I love my body as best as I can. I love helping people. I have 2 beautiful children. I'm never really sick, and I'm fully pain-free, which is a crazy thing to say. Because if you had have known me back then, I was the girl that was like not well. So yeah, that's kind of my story of healing from endometriosis. I hope that you took something away from it. And I'd love to hear in the comments, like, if you know anyone with endo or have any questions, or just share it with anyone that you think might benefit from hearing that you can heal. So yeah, what I did, cleaned my body, learned to meditate, recognized energy, shifted my perspective. It's a whole holistic thing. So if anyone's preaching one single thing at you, recognize that you are not one single thing, and it needs to be addressed on all levels, and you can heal. So sending you all my love, and see you again.